Okay, so what this video is going to go through is, now that we've completed our model, we want to create an exploded view and also create drawings from these 3D models. So drawings that we can print out on paper. We can include those drawings into our folio, but we could also just have them in the workshop with us as we're assembling. We will need pictures with us because we forget where parts go sometimes, and when they come off the laser they all look a bit raw and well, just random. So we need to know what's what as it's coming out. Also, it'll help you when you're up at the laser, or with a teacher in general, that you can basically go to them for advice, have a tool alongside so they don't need to log into your model, which would take an excessive amount of time. So in the folio though, this is pages 1, 2 and 3 related, so you could include stuff that we've done here today in any of those 3 pages. Anyway, first thing we want to do is create an assembly. So that's something new to us. We go down to the plus button here and we press create assembly. Now, the assembly looks very much like the Part Studio, but it's got a different set of features across the top. The only ones we're really interested in here today is the insert one. So we're going to insert our bridge. Now you can see I've got loads here. Just going to try find which one I was just in there. I think it was this one. So I'm just going to drag and drop that in here. Now, first up, you can see that the sketches haven't come in with us. We can bring those sketches in if we want. We could go search for them, but they're still not going to come out in your drawings and they won't be able to be exploded either. So probably no point in doing that. Either way, what I'm going to just do is whack on with this and try to explode it. So first up, we've got parts that didn't seem to be in our Part Studio. So why is that? If we look back here, it didn't seem to exist there, but it does in the assembly. That's because when I first built this model, I had other parts there that were intended for a different project. The 2-wheel hand truck and a Tesla Cybertruck. So all of those parts weren't needed in this, and I hid them. Now they get brought into the assembly and they're unhidden. So all you have to do is just select them as I did there and press delete on your keyboard and they'll be gone. The origin here, as we can see, we're just going to hide that. There's no need for it. All of these parts here at the moment are draggable. You could drag them anywhere, but we don't want to. Essentially what an assembly is it's like a playground. You can bring parts from different models in and put them together or tear them apart. One thing that we're trying to do in here is just create an exploded view. So over here on the right hand side, where we usually see a sheet metal model in our Part Studio, we're going to hit add exploded view, and we're going to hit add exploded view again, and now you can see editing explode 1. So what we want to do is just minimize this, and we want to be thinking to ourselves, right, if I'm thinking of something like an IKEA brochure, first of all I want to get a nice angle. Isometric is kind of the default angle that we look for here when we're trying to create exploded views. It's a 3D angle. It shows you depth, it shows you width, and it shows you height. Okay, so zoom out from an isometric. Then what we want to do is figure out which way we want to explode this. So you can see in this model here, I've got these parts here on the outside of the bridge. So I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to select 1 and 2 here at the front. I'm going to explode those out this way. Next up, what I'm going to do is take, I'm going to green tick I suppose, because I'm finished with those, and I'm going to take these 2 back pillars and I'm going to explode those back the way. So we've exploded both of those. Now what do I want to do next? I want to take, I've jumped on out of that. Where have I gone to? Assembly 2. So now what I want to do is take perhaps the 2 blocks at the bottom, and I'm going to drag those way down to show that they get screwed up from the bottom. Okay, next I'm going to take the river itself and I'm going to bring that down, and I just want it just about located there. Okay, we don't want it to have it intersecting parts too much, but just a tiny bit of overlap isn't too bad. Next, what I'll do is take the motor, the gear, and the shaft on the inside. That is a separate part in this model. We'll take those, we'll drag those down, and we also want to take that gear apart. So I'm going to take the gear apart. Now this here is your driver gear, the one that's actually connected to the motor, and you can see that that's taken apart there now. And we also want to take this one. This here is our driven gear, but it's also the column that's supporting the bridge, the swing bridge. Now we're almost finished, but the last thing I want to do is take these two pieces and bring them down. So I'm taking those and bringing them down the way. You know what? I might just leave them there. Hope that's not too confusing looking. So we've kind of dragged things in and around the place. We could still take things a little bit higher, lower. You could tinker around with that, but you get the idea. It gives you an exploded view, all the different parts, more or less how they come together using these lines and so on and so forth. So all I want to do is hit done, and you'll see the model will collapse again. If you want to see that exploded view, you can go in, click that, and what's really handy is you can use your rollback bar. So the rollback bar is like a little time machine. You can scroll back in time and then step by step go forward and see how it was you exploded it. Did it make sense? And you can also edit any one of these explosions. So you can tinker around with that, but I'm just going to skip on. So we've created an exploding view in an assembly. Now what we want to do is print that view out. So we're going to go to that plus sign down in the bottom left corner again, and this time we're going to create a drawing. Now when you create a drawing, you can see I've got ISO A3 here, but you might not. The first time you enter the drawing universe, I suppose, you have to bring up the page type you want. So you go into ISO is the standard that we use for page sizes. In there you'll find A0, A1, A2, A3, A4. Now A4 is what you're usually using in school and on notepads, but A3 is the size we want to use here today. So we're going to go A3, no views. Now no views means that there's going to be no default views put in. We're going to pop those in ourselves. But first up, when we open up a drawing, we're going to hit X on select a part and X on the insert a view. So they automatically appear just because it automatically thinks do you want to put a part in, which isn't wrong. But first up, I want to delete all of these margins and title blocks. So I'm going to select them all and press delete. Now I'm going to go back to what the computer had originally wanted me to do and press insert. Then insert again. And this time we're going to be inserting our part studio, but not the part studio as it was, but as the assembly. So it's assembly 2 here. I did it earlier with a group of kids, so that's the assembly 1, but you should only have one assembly in your model, I'd imagine. So it's assembly 2 for me. I'm going to go and find here the exploded view. So we created an explode there, and also what I want to do is press, instead of front, that isometric view. Isometric is a 3D view. It's set up with 30-degree angles, and we're just going to pop that view in there in the top right corner. Now you can pop your view wherever you want of that exploded view. And now what we want to do is also fill up this page. If it's going to be like page 1, we should have an exploded view. We should have orthographic views as well, and maybe a detailed view or a cross-section view perhaps, but you should have lots in here. So I'm going to go for an exploded view, and then what I'll also do is put in an orthographic view. So it's the one that automatically wants to come in at the very start. The front is turned on there, the explode is turned off. So you can see that there is the front view, and if I bring my mouse down, now it wants to project another view below it. That's called your plan. And if we select the first view, the front view again, the elevation is another name for it, and we drag our mouse out to the right, then it will create an end view as though we're looking through the object and we can see it over here. Okay, now if they're confusing and you don't like the fact that it's a line drawing, you can always turn on color. So I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard just to get out of the projected views, and now what I'm going to do is right click it and press show shaded view. If you do that, color will turn on that drawing. We can make a bit more sense of what we're looking at now. So show shaded view, But in general, orthographic views, while I'm doing this, orthographic views, which is what these three are, the elevation, the end view and the plan, they have no color. So what we would want to do with those views is actually throw our dimensions on them. And you'll see as you move one, another one might realign itself to it. That's because orthographic views should be vertically in line and horizontally in line, depending on which views you're looking at. So as I move this one, if I were to move it up and down, the elevation would move. If I move this one left and right, then the elevation moves again. Okay, and the elevation controls both. It's the central view. In any case, I want to add a dimension. So I hit D on my keyboard and you can see the dimension tool pops up. I want to figure out what dimension this tool here is, or this stand here is. So I pop in a dimension there, that's 30. If I wanted to find out just how tall this flange here is, then I could add a dimension here. Now this is an interesting one because this has come out as 8,43. Now, comma is a European standard instead of decimals, but we can tinker with all of that stuff over here. Instead of comma, we could put in a period, as the Americans call it, and instead of having any decimals at all, we could just reduce the precision down to 0. And then it rounds the number, and that looks just a little bit more professional, doesn't it? You wouldn't really get an IKEA magazine with all those decimals sitting in it. In any case, you should add a couple of key dimensions to each view and try to keep them going in the one direction. So if you're starting out with dimensions on the left hand side of the model, then keep them going out the left hand side of the model. Likewise, if you start them on the bottom side of the model, then keep them going on the bottom and don't go adding dimensions to the top. Anyway, we're going to accelerate on and look at the next thing to do. Next, I want to bring in another view just to fill up the page here. And this time, I'm going to make that an isometric view. And I'm going to pop this isometric view in just about here. Now, this view here should be the main drawing, actually. I'm going to bring it into the center of the page. This should be the main drawing. This is the one that's definitely going to be in color. And this is the one that should be, well, occupying the most amount of space probably on the page. Now, maybe it won't happen because my exploded view is actually quite stretched out. But here, when you double click on the on any view, you'll get its properties up. And what we want to do is scale this up. So at the moment it's at 1:4. That means for every 4 centimeters in real life, it's reduced it down to 1. It's divided it by 1. So here, what we're going to do is make it 1:2. So I've selected that. I'm dragging my drawing down. And what you'll notice now is this little symbol here. You've got your 1:2 ratio. You could pop that in if you wanted, or you could pop it out, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete that and just leave that space there. Right, we're almost there. What we would like to still add though to that first page is obviously electronics. So I might add my electronic diagram here that you might find in class or in your book. The DP/DT with the limit switch drawing is what we'll be using here. It's up on the blind in the classroom. And over here what we might do is add a table of parts. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back into my Assembly 2. Assembly 2, you can go to BOM table, and in here you can name your parts. So you can see there's a quantity, there's a part number. If you scroll across, we get description. I'm going to keep description. I'm going to keep, no, I won't keep quantity actually because there's just one of everything. But if you had made duplicates, then you might find 2. But I'm going to remove that column, right click, remove that column. And what I'm going to do is add a column for name. And you can see the names automatically get brought in. Now these names that are brought in, I'm just going to delete this column as well, or move right, there we go. The names that get brought in, you can rename by double clicking. They will actually change the names in the original model from within the Part Studio, or from within the assembly. So that's pretty handy. As you scroll over one part, it will highlight the rest of them, okay? So here, this part here is the axle, I'm going to leave it as that. This one here is the motor and gearbox, going to leave it as that. Part 9, however, this here is the right hand side of the road. Now, right hand side of a road, and we wouldn't really use on mapping, so maybe if we call that the south road, and this one here, the north road, and so on and so forth. North 10 road. What have I done there? I don't know what part I'm on now. I'm after getting confused. Yeah, north road. There we go. And so on and so forth. Now, you can populate all of this. This here is a swing bridge. You could populate all these and fix them all in your own time. I'm going to call this one the, let's say, northwest. Am I right there? Yeah, northwest pillar, I suppose. Yeah. So we're going to just leave it at that, and you can go about populating the rest of it yourself. But why is this handy? Well, this is handy because we can add in here on the description the material we're going to be making this out of. So the axle is made out of acrylic, let's say. Well, pre-made, let's say, actually, because we don't really need to worry about that. Pre-made, apologies. Oh my god, what's wrong with me? Pre-made. Then over here we got pre-made or pre-bought. Whichever, they're both pre-made, pre-bought, whichever you want to say. This one here, what I've made this out of is aluminium. If you're unsure as to what you made it out of, you can always go back in, check the thickness. If it's 1.5, you've made it out of aluminium. If it's 3, sounds like acrylic. If it's 5, most certainly acrylic. And if it's anything bigger than that, you're probably looking at timber. 4mm though is also timber. It'll be plywood. So South Road here is aluminium. Well, let's say 1.5mm alu. Now, the reason we would put all of that in is because it's very handy when you come to the laser and you want to figure out what materials you need. Then you've got a list in front of you and you can get chopping straight away. The laser does take a little while to set up and takes a little while to process materials. So when your name gets called out, you want to be first up, don't you? So just be prepared and fill this whole thing out, what material you're using for each part. And then when you go back to your drawing, what you'll find is this little BOM table. Sorry, that's just table. Over here is BOM table right next to it. And once you pop that button, a little table will appear. And when you drop that table in, you will see nothing. Okay, so nothing is updated. Now, it's not that I've done anything wrong, but drawings work, they don't work exactly live. They leave it up to you if you want to update them to what the models that they're drawing upon are at. So in this case, I do. I want it to update from when I first brought it in. So I'm going to hit this little yellow refresh button. Whenever you make a change in your assembly or your part studio, you'd want to hit this. And now you can see that all that detail that I put in and also deleted in terms of columns has actually moved its way into here. And you can resize that if you want. In any case, that there is what I would go about doing if I were you for page 1. Also, a lot of this stuff could be used in page 2. If you made explosions, exploded views, if you made detail views, which I'll really quickly show you what I mean by that. So a detail view would be if you wanted to create a drawing of, say, the gears here. If we didn't feel like we're getting enough detail going on there, then we could take this detail view. What I've done is drawn a circle around, and then I'm popping that out over here. So that's a commonly done thing in instruction manuals. You see the original circle there, and you can see the feature of the zoom in out here. So that's really handy stuff. Now, page 1 will all need to be sketched, but what's great about this is you've got a digital copy, and then you know the size of drawings, and from there you can actually work away. Also, this is really handy because what we can do is right click the drawing down here in the right corner, press export, and on top of being able to export it as a DXF or DWG, which would be used for laser cutting, what we do here is export it as a PNG. And once we export it as a PNG, then it's an image, and we can print that image or upload it to a Google slide and have your teacher print it. So since it's sized in A3, it will also print in A3. So the quality should be nice and good. So that's it there as a picture. Not very dynamic, but entirely printable. Obviously, I'm missing pieces from here, so I might have wanted to actually size this down or shuffle things around perhaps in order for things to be able to fit. So maybe if I'd move this up here, move this across here, I'm messing, haven't I? Should have left well enough alone. Double click this one, make this a little bit smaller maybe. Let's say if we go 1:5, we might get in a bit more room now. I'm going to delete the 1:5 reference. and maybe pop that over there. I think this might work now. Come on, move for me. There we go. Okay, and we've still got room for our electronics. We've got room for a lot of talk, and maybe about the theme of the bridge, the inspiration for the bridge, which bridge you drew upon. In any case, that is enough of your time and enough of mine.